Mike, I'm a responsible gun owner. I'm trying to avoid areas of looting and violence and rioting, but I accidentally and somehow find myself in the middle of it all. What should I be aware of in Pennsylvania?
There are a couple of things that you should be aware of. Number one, as my friend Jose Morales of Philly Firearms Academy often tells people, not every problem is a nail that requires a hammer. So I encourage people to have layers of defense in these types of situations. Second of all, understand when when your state law imposes a duty to retreat. Generally speaking, we have a duty to retreat if we can do it with complete safety. But there are circumstances where statutory law will get rid of that duty to retreat altogether. Stand your ground being a very common doctrine that does this in many different states. Now, make no mistake about it. The media blows this well out of proportion and makes it sound like stand your ground is some license to kill. It's just far from it. All it does is in certain situations, it eliminates or impacts that duty to retreat, which you generally have if you can do it with complete safety. Finally, understand that when you're defending yourself, and you're thinking about deadly force, preventing death or serious bodily injury in those kinds of circumstances, these situations can arise when the other person, the aggressor, is not necessarily armed. Suppose there's a group of people attacking one person. Suppose they have an instrument that's not a firearm, but something that's readily capable of causing death or serious bodily injury. We have reports in Philadelphia of men throwing bricks at people. Groups of people coming around with pipes and attacking people. I know the fake news doesn't show this stuff, but look at the first responders' reports. This is what you're going to see.
Amazing. Edwin Walker, you're in Texas, where I am right now. Is there anything we need to know? We, as responsible gun owners, avoid, but we get stuck in the middle of a violent situation.
Right. Well, one thing I like to tell people, one thing I like to remind people is that your license to carry a handgun is your license to carry a handgun and your right to self-defense applies whenever trouble comes after you. That is certainly not a license for you to go looking for trouble. And so you absolutely should avoid those, any type of circumstance that may present those, that danger. Now, that being said, Texas does have a no duty to retreat law, which means that basically if you do find yourself in a place where you have a legal right to be, which is basically any place where you're not a trespasser. So you have a right to be at the store. You have a right to be in the parking lot. You have the right to be in the park. You have, any place where you're not committing the crime of trespassing, and you're not committing any other crime. Then the law says that the police and the prosecutors cannot come behind you and judge you in terms of, well, you knew you shouldn't have been there, so therefore, we're saying that it wasn't reasonable. That's going to go into our argument of reasonableness. Our Texas no duty to retreat law prevents any kind of second guessing like that. And also, what I wanted to add to what Mike said is that with regard to the standard of using deadly force, you have to use it whenever you're in fear of death or serious bodily injury. And we've seen increasingly that it could come at the hands of something that is not a firearm. But the law says that any object can be a deadly weapon depending upon its manner and intended use. And so, I don't know if the viewers are familiar with the New Mexico video, the New Mexico shooting that happened earlier this week, but the man appeared to be in danger of getting his head bashed in with a skateboard. So ordinarily, skateboard, not a deadly weapon. However, when you use a skateboard to try to take the top of someone's head off, then yes, in fact, it does in that circumstance become a deadly weapon. And so be wary of that. Also, most of these attacks that we've seen on the news have come with groups of people, and that goes into that's a circumstance that we call disparity of force. And so, in a disparity of force issue, that is certainly a very, very pertinent circumstance that a jury would need to be informed about. That goes into their decision as to your reasonableness in using deadly force.